Hello everyone, I'm Kralo, and this is going to be my last review. I'll explain what that means at the end of the video, but for now, let's talk about Awaria. Now, when is a bullet hell not a bullet hell? Well, Awaria might have the answer. What is Awaria, you may be asking? Well, it's a freeware game released in 2024 and developed by Lucas Van Ripper Piscor. Yes, the same developer as Helltaker. And while that game had cheesecake for the guys, this game is entirely for the lesbians. Well, I guess guys can appreciate it as well. Originally planned to only take a few months to develop, it wound up taking 3 years. And it was worth it, because while the game can be beaten in about a day, you may wind up playing it for way longer than that. Like last time with Helltaker, all the character designs and programming was done by Van Ripper himself and the music by Mitzi's. This time we have a new person on the team, with the sound effects being done by Patrick Karvat. And all 3 of them knocked it out of the park. With that being said, let's break the game down into 2 sections, characters and story, as well as levels and gameplay. First off, characters. While Helltaker has a lot of girls, Awaria has 6 or 7 depending on your point of view. Let's start with the protagonist and the secondary playable character, her boss. The protagonist and main playable character is Ula Usterka. She's a volunteer running the tunnels and fixing things. However, she isn't there just to make out with ghost girls. Which, I mean, yeah, she's definitely there for that. But that's not the only thing she's there for. She's also there seeking a friend and former tunnel runner, Zamora. Though, based on their interactions, it's more likely that they had been girlfriends before Zamora died. Ula is a short stack with a lot of gumption, who is always smiling even when she's under attack. As stated, her main goal is to be reunited with Zamora and get Zamora to remember her, because ghosts lose their memories when they die. The harshest feeling. Looking at someone you love and knowing they don't recognize you anymore. The deuteragonist is Yagoda Yezdush, although she's more commonly known as Baba Yaga. She's the opposite of Ula. While Ula is short and upbeat, Yaga is tall, grumpy, a bit morose, heavily stressed, and constantly drinking. While Ula has a goal of reuniting with someone she lost, Yaga's goals are far less idealistic. But one, at least our writers and editor, can get behind. No, not you, Lo. Oh, okay, maybe you can get behind this too. Yaga wants to date every ghost girl and have a massive polycule of ghost girls. She has spent 20 years on this goal and still hasn't achieved it. But she does have some sort of deal with the final ghost girl, Dr. Striga. With the ghosts, there are 4 to 5 depending on your point of view. Zamora, Nikita, Cutwire, and Dr. Striga. And we will be covering them in order. Zamora is the first ghost you encounter in the game, and the one you encounter the most as Eula is actively pursuing her. She died on her first day of work as a tunnel runner, which is what led to Eula volunteering to be the one to find her. When facing her, she can emit electrical energy and has 2 forms, a low-tier shocker form and a high-tier shocker form. Due to multiple encounters throughout the game, she eventually starts to regain a few memories of Eula just before the climax of the game, which leads to the rather interesting circumstances in said climax where Eula lets Zamora possess her body. Next, we have Cutwire, or to be more precise, the Cutwires. Caroline Cutwire died when she was cut in half by an automatic door. This actually split her ghost in half as well, creating Cutwire 1 and 2. And the 2 ghosts actually have very different personalities, slightly different appearances, and different ways they move and act in gameplay. Cutwire 1 has a more crazed smile and throws wire cutters that set traps and take out the player, while Cutwire 2 has blood streaming from her eyes, has a constant frown, and follows the player attempting to cut her in half with her giant shears. Our penultimate ghost is Nikita Naprava. She is an extremely tall, motherly figure of a ghost girl. She wears an acetylene torch welder, and this plays into how she functions in gameplay, as she can create rings of fire and a bird-like flame projectile. She's also, unfortunately, the ghost with the least amount of development, which annoys both me and our scriptwriter and editor, as she is their favorite. Lastly, there's Dr. Sylvia Strega. Unlike the other ghosts, she looks more deceased, with a skull-like face. She's also not supposed to be in Eula's section of the tunnels, being from Yaga's section. She enters the story kidnapping Eula and Zamora to lure out Yaga on Yaga's day off. She has some sort of thing towards Yaga, but who can really say for sure what it is? With that being said, we can now move on to the levels and gameplay. Awaria is a bullet hell puzzle game. Unlike most bullet hell games, which are usually shooters, Awaria bucks that trend by being a soft puzzle game, where you have to dodge attacks in order to repair machines and survive until you repair a number of machines before the timer runs out on said machines or you get killed. There are 13 levels through which you have to survive, and each increase the challenge through introducing new or harder versions of ghosts, by giving you more types of materials needed to repair the broken machines, number of machines that break down, or increasing the number of repairs you have to do. For example, in the first level, you have 2 types of repair materials, 1 machine that breaks down, 4 repairs to make, and only the low-powered version of Zamora to deal with, and in level 2 of the game, it adds a second machine and increases the repairs needed by 1 in order to pass. And by the time you reach the trio of finale levels, you have 5 different materials, some of which need other materials to be made, 4 machines to repair, the much more difficult ghost of Dr. Striga to deal with, as well as her constructs, and you have 8 repairs to make. This may not seem like a lot, but it does when you're playing the game and have to keep your eyes on everything. The game isn't very long, but it's fun and addictive. You can beat it on normal in about 5 hours, but if you want to challenge yourself, play it again on hard and see how fast you can beat the game. It's one of those games that make you want to go for a faster and faster time each time you play. You may die a lot, but don't let that discourage you, because the challenge is worth it. And now I get to rant for a little bit, as the boss has given me a spot to fill the video. And believe me, the timer starts now. I actually got to play this game on stream, and I absolutely loved the game. It was definitely challenging, to the point where it was getting both rage reactions as well as bringing out that competitive, no, I'm not ending on a loss, I'm not gonna end on a death, yada yada yada, and like, oh my goodness. The further you go, even when you have it set on normal, it's incredibly difficult to do once you reach the harder versions of the level, purely because of the fact that there's just so much more you gotta do. I'm already trying to figure out patterns. I'm trying to work around attack patterns and attack angles and things like that. And you only get so many hits before you're dead. Like, it was bringing out the competitive nature of my gamer self, as well as very, very much testing my patience. And again, I love the game. I absolutely love the game. The only difficulty for me was keeping track of everything. And I managed to get through, I believe anyway, get through all of Eula's story. I didn't really go much further after that, because if I had kept going with as angry as the game was making me, I knew for a fact I was not going to be able to survive the rest without punching my fist through my PC. But no, the game itself was actually really fun. Animations are great. The mechanics are absolutely, like, they're brilliant, honestly. I actually like them more than the mechanics of Helltaker, because there's no move counter, especially because there's no move counter. you technically do have a time limit, but it's not based on your movement. And that is something big that I like. Now, I'm going to rant a little bit about my favorite ghost as well, Nikita Naprava, because mommy, sorry. I mean, come on. The welding torch, the fire-based attacks and power, like, her design is just, really makes the knees weak. And just something about, like, because, you know, I love me a good short stack and all that stuff, but I love the tall motherly figure that she gets. And it's just like, drool worthy, absolutely drool worthy. Like, I love both her, you know, her more simple first version and then the more complicated version when you get to the level after her intro, where she gets a lot harder. Like, there are so many different things. It's just like, oh my goodness. Like, Naprava just, Miss Nikita, take me home. I can definitely relate to the wanting to smooch and get with the ghost girls. There's no problem in, you know, wanting to be reunited with the loved one you've been separated from. I totally get that. I do. I can relate to that. But I also heavily relate to the desire of having a harem and polycule of ghost girls. Because, let's be real, you look at them and they look good. But yeah, that's enough me ranting about Mommy Nikita for a little bit. Back to the gameplay, it's absolutely amazing. Like, I genuinely do love it. And, like, honestly, I would absolutely love to play it again. But, you see, the thing for me is that I'm not normally a puzzle game fan. But when a puzzle game is done differently, like in the case of Awaria, when you combine a puzzle game with a bullet hell, it adds a fresh spin on both genres. And it makes it that much more enjoyable. Because you have two different styles and play types actually combining together. And I think it was done very successfully. Van Ripper and the rest of the team have absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I absolutely enjoy every single moment of playing that game. So, yeah, that is me. That is my rant. That is my tangent. Great game. It's surprisingly pretty good story. And then, of course, gotta love Mommy Nikita. Anyways, yeah, oh my goodness, it's amazing. The game is absolutely peak. And that is our thoughts on Awaria, a hard but fun bullet hell. It's free on Steam, and if you want to support Van Ripper, you can actually buy the art book DLC, which includes the recipe for the pudding pies you give to the ghosts. But if you're a god gamer and 100% cleared the game, you actually get the DLC for free. Now, at the start of the video, I mentioned that this was my last review. See, the boss has some concerns. Turns out they don't feel right using Kralo after learning he's a real person, as they learned during my 4-year anniversary stream. Side note, feel free to come check out my streams at U9 Artemis on Twitch. I stream Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel from time to time. I play games with my community and the audience in general, and I do a bunch of other games as well. But back to the point. There's another reason why Kralo the character is leaving. And just to clarify, the character is leaving. I'm staying to voice the next host unless me and Chaos have some kind of falling out. But as of right now, we're decent friends. Anyway, the other reason is time and money. It costs $80 for each Kralo model, which is why they only have 4 of me. So we're swapping to something cheaper. Now, as to why we need to swap to something cheaper? Well, the original plan for this video was to end with a cliffhanger where the ship starts shaking and alarms blaring, which would have led to the start of a storyline. Not going to tell you what that story was going to be, but it involved more characters, each probably costing $80 per model. And so we're revamping this and the channel a little bit. So we'll be taking a small break to get those new things up and running. Until then, we'll be focusing on Ben 10 What If Aliens and finishing the Kamen Rider Decade review. Until we see you again, remember, like, comment, and sub, or else YouTube will steal my lungs.